Watching my early videos makes me cringe. Sure, there's some gold in there, but it's caked in layers of poor audio quality and bad comedic timing. But out of all the videos of mine that I find hard to watch, it's my most successful one that I contemplate deleting the most. I'll be the first to admit when I'm mistaken. And I just gotta say that when it comes to this game, I was wrong. About absolutely nothing. I do not give a damn what any of you assholes have to say. Ghost of Tsushima was one of the most average games I've ever played in my life. And to be clear, that's not to say that I thought it was bad. I gave it a C, which is my quirky way of saying a 2.5 out of 5. But because for the average person there's no in-between terrible and magnificent, people acted as though I said it was dog shit, when in reality most things fall between those two extremes. And while my reaction to playing that game initially was I'd say that the reaction to that video and all the needlessly heated discussions I'd see between people on Twitter comparing Tsushima with The Last of Us Part 2, two games that have fuck all to do with each other, has made me hate this game. Actually, sorry, that's not fair, alright? I don't hate this game. I hate you! But moving on, the response to not just my video, but the discussion around this game as a whole and some other games that have come out as of late, has really made me want to talk a bit about subjectivity and critique. You see, there is no such thing as an objective opinion. You can support your take with evidence that is objective, but that doesn't necessarily mean that someone has to agree with the take itself. Everyone's perspective on a game is built from the catalog of games that they've played in the past, as well as what they look for in a particular experience. And obviously, it's even deeper than that. There are exceptions to every rule. It was only one guy, but there was someone on my video who said that they like Ubisoft-style games but didn't like Ghost of Tsushima. And then there are, of course, people who are cynical towards those games but like this one. And then there were a ton of people who agreed with or experienced every fault I took with the game, but valued the strong parts a lot more than I did. Everyone's got different itches that they need scratched, and whether that itch is on their back or on their balls is completely dependent on the individual. Basically, I think both the Actman and Quantum TV are equally right and wrong, at least when it comes to their opinions on Elden Ring. Because, you know, copyright striking people who disagree with you is fucking pathetic. And anyone who claims that people who like a certain thing have, quote, no friends or family is obviously a giant cunt. But as it pertains to the game itself, Quantum TV, who I had never heard about before this fiasco, seems to be a guy who cares about visuals above everything else. And From Software is a studio that prioritizes that the least. Artistically, they are some of the most striking games around, and there's no question how much love and time they put into that. But that being said, no one is seriously arguing that the graphical fidelity, ray tracing, RTX gobbledygook of Elden Ring is to the standard of AAA games. I currently go to a school for game art, and my professor, who works in the industry, spent about 45 minutes of one of our lectures ranting about outdated tricks and unconvincing lighting, repeated textures, etc., that were used in Elden Ring. But here's the thing. I don't give a shit about any of that. Oh, the shrubbery's not convincing? Big whoop, I can smite my foes with the power of lean. You see, I just do not care if the lighting isn't bouncing off the leaves in some super convincing way, or even if objects are clipping together. Elden Ring is a blast, and the presentation was enough to immerse me. I can respect my teacher's take and see the validity in the evidence he provided, especially as a professional level artist, but there is just no chance that I could ever bring myself to give a single fuck about any of the issues he saw, which is really the point that I'm trying to make. I pointed out things that I didn't like that I could use one easily acquired move to fuck up every single enemy in the game, and I showed myself doing just that. If you see that and it doesn't matter to you, then okay, great. You don't have to publicly display in my comments how much copium you're inhaling. It's not like I pulled a donkey and spent half of my review complaining about a game's dub when the option to play it subbed was there all along. These are just the things that I value from the experience a game provides. What? Am I having a stroke? Similarly, I found the stealth in AI in Ghost of Tsushima to be insultingly bad. However, if you don't care about that, then maybe that's why you like it and I don't. It's really not that hard to grasp, this guy gets it. I never did make my best games of 2020 video, but I guarantee you the games I really loved from that year were not the same ones that a lot of the people commenting on my video were playing, which is really the point. Like, if you enjoyed the Ubisoft style open world experience, obviously you love Ghost of Tsushima, but I don't, because I am smart. I don't think that with this stupid little video I'm going to somehow magically fix online discussion. But it's become pretty clear to me that being able to look at what you love critically, or even just understanding that a conflicting viewpoint isn't a personal attack, is a rare skill these days. And as a longtime Kingdom Hearts fan, I had to learn this a very, very long time ago.
How can you tell? Because I'm you. No, I'm me. I'm me, he says.
Listen, I love discussing games with people, and not in some echo chamber either. My favorite comments from that video were not the ones that shared my thoughts, but the ones pushing the discussion further and giving me a new perspective, or the ones where people let me know that despite loving the game or maybe not fully agreeing with me, they still saw where I was coming from. Which even now makes me feel like the video was a success despite how much I've grown to hate it. And just to be clear, this isn't some campaign for some padded safe space for discussion. All I'm saying is that there's a huge difference between debate and flinging shit. I mean, we're talking about fucking video games here. This is probably the least important thing on planet Earth, especially right now. So if my Ghost of Tsushima video was a 100% objective review, then why does it make me cringe? Well, it's because of all that historical shit I said. Yeah, you weren't entirely clickbaited. It's this that I was wrong about. You see, I made a complete honky out of myself by quoting a book on samurai and ninja written by a British man named Stephen Turnbull, a man who apparently was so mistaken he felt the need to write a follow-up essay about how his findings that I referenced were off base. I know that people probably don't really care, but you see, my problem with that video is that I thought I knew literally anything. The gist of what I found out is that ninja, shinobi, whatever you want to call them, did not exist. At least not as a distinct body separate from your average warrior. I did see some stuff about a clan that might have inspired the folklore, but you can go down that rabbit hole yourself if you want. I'm not doing that in a video ever again. But basically, the TLDR is that warriors would do shinobi work like espionage, sabotage, etc., but they weren't clad in black, dropping from ceilings, and taking jobs for hire across the country to serve their ninja clans. Which is where I had drunk the Kool-Aid all these years. I was under the typical Western impression set forth by media. And honestly, can you blame me? History at a public high school in Texas barely gets you outside of the history of Texas. We keep tigers in our backyards, children can walk out of gun shows with RPGs, we have a state Pledge of Allegiance. Nothing is right about this place. So does this confession that I made contradict any points I made about the game in that video? Fuck no it doesn't. As far as I'm concerned, the equipment I said Jin could've and should've had, complete with that nice little animation of how it would potentially play out, is all stuff that warriors would use, ninja or not. Furthermore, Ghost of Tsushima is not nearly as historically accurate as people want to make it out to be. Jin uses poison, wind chime landmines, flaming swords, poison blow darts, throws kunai, which were not used for that. It's just as close to Naruto as it is to historically accurate. And if Sucker Punch wasn't that committed to historical accuracy, the least they could have done was add something original. Functionally, there isn't a single tool in this game that is innovative. It's all the same bullshit we've been seeing in every other half-assed stealth adventure over the past decade. Which is not to say that every game needs to be pushing the envelope in some huge way, but it takes more than just visuals and atmosphere for me to think a game is some groundbreaking experience. Also, if you're one of these people that commented he's a samurai, not a ninja, you need your head checked. Like, I understand that they never said that through exposition, but between his methods and these scenes like Taka inventing the grappling hook or Jin helping to invent poison blow darts, it's pretty obvious that he's supposed to be the progenitor to shinobi. You know, not necessarily as a body of people, but as a style of warfare. Then there were these people who specifically called me out for saying that I was excited when Sucker Punch announced they were making a ninja stealth game. And I guess that's more understandable because they didn't come out and say that verbatim, but did you not watch the first trailer? It shows him suiting up like Ryu from Ninja Gaiden, he's throwing smoke bombs and dropping on people from above. If you see that trailer and don't understand what I meant, then you are a fucking bonobo. And this is all especially directed at this Nimrod who said that they didn't even announce it was a stealth game. What the fuck? Half of the first gameplay reveal was all stealth. So either you're talking out of your ass and you didn't actually watch any of the press for the game, or you shouldn't be legally allowed to drive. Like, what do you need people to literally tell you what your food is to know what you're eating? Alright, ma'am, and here's your— Whoa, what the fuck is this? They're chicken tendies, ma'am. It's what you ordered. Oh, thank God. For a second there, I thought it was spaghetti. Saying that this is a story about him becoming the first ever shinobi is honestly a pretty fair assessment, whether the game tells you that through exposition or not. So yeah, I talked about ninja as if they were real with my whole chest, and that makes me cringe. But my opinions on the game are still right, and yours are still wrong. Now, before I go, I actually do want to make one correction to my critique of this game. You see, this having been my 4th video, I was, and still am, finding my voice. And in doing that, I kind of did something I hate seeing other content creators do, which is embellish part of my opinion just to kind of say something. which is what I did whenever I said that the sword combat was quote-unquote okay. I don't feel too weird about it and wouldn't clarify if I wasn't already talking about that video, because I follow that statement up with my very honest feelings on the combat, which included a lot of praise. But based on how many comments I've seen where people say that they love it as if in response to me saying I hated it or something, made it clear that I didn't accurately convey how I feel about what is to me my favorite part of that game. Maybe it came off that way just because I initially said it was okay, because I went back and watched the video, reluctantly so, and I talked a lot about how fun it was. In fact, I talked a lot about the things I enjoyed about every aspect of the game. But anyways, for all the reasons I mentioned in my video, I think that the combat is fun, but it's not particularly deep. And if you play a lot of action games, it can become really easy, really fast. Some of the upgrades give you cool new options, but others significantly dumb down the gameplay. For example, there's this one that makes it so that the spear user's attacks, which before required you to dodge in the exact right direction or you get kebabbed, to then being able to be blocked by a single input that has a massive window. Listen, the combat is fun, but it's not reinventing the wheel. And again, if you play a lot of hack and slash games or action RPGs, it's probably gonna get a bit dull by the end, especially when there are only like 5 enemy types total. I'd put it in the same conversation as like Nier Automata, like fun and flashy and can be really satisfying, but it's not super deep. And if that doesn't mean anything to you, then well, I mean that's my point. I think most people just want a pretty and immersive world with some mildly fun gameplay, and I think that's why Assassin's Creed will never die. And that was enough for me to an extent until I got bored with it. I don't really see how in the same year as Hades, Doom Eternal, and Flight Simulator, this was the game that people were like, yeah, that's our game of the year. At the time, it really felt like people were just flocking to a safe and familiar experience after the game that shall not be named came out. And fucking killed their dads. All of this being said, I am still baffled by the disconnect between angry comments and what I said. Yes, I never held back, but every criticism was constructive or touched on what I liked about the game, which is I guess why there were a lot of positive ones as well, but the negative ones are so much louder. If there's one thing that this video taught me, above all else, it's to stop reading that shit. It's a cesspool down there. And that was on both sides of the aisle. Alright, thanks for listening to me talk about nothing for 10 minutes. I'm glad I corrected myself, but as for the rest of the video, well, stupid people are gonna be stupid, so I may have wasted my breath. However, if you enjoyed hearing me ramble about this 2-year-old game and aren't subscribed, you should consider doing so now, because pretty soon I'm going to be putting out some videos on some games that are actually still relevant. And if you've been subscribed to this channel, please don't let them know that I'm lying through my teeth and won't make another video for 6 months. Anyways, that's it for me. I'll see y'all next time.